you raised a very important point, which is on the misuse aspect. We've not spoken about that, but how women themselves are misusing, and you're absolutely right. While we are being given all these, let me say, special attention, but we also need to ensure that we don't misuse. And lately in the organizations, we've started seeing more incidents of this. So we really have to be cautious. So if we want this agenda to be furthered, we also have responsibilities to ensure that they are not misused. So for all the people here in the audience. We have half an hour left. I'm going to wrap it up, and this will be my last question. We have on our panel two women, one who continued working despite having kids, and the other one who took a break. So I'm going to direct my last question to both of them. So Monica, first to you. You've continued working all throughout. You've not taken a break. I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. What did you do differently, and what was the organization's support for you to make this happen?
Thanks, Niharika. So I'd actually like to start by quoting Ginny Rometty, who's the CEO, President, Chairman of IBM. She once said, growth and comfort don't coexist, right? And the second piece I'd like to say is women can't have it all, right? So I think when I was going to have my kid, one of the things that actually helped was planning. And I actually go back to Aparna, planning really helps. Letting your organization know early really helped. I remember going up to my manager and saying, there's 3 months of maternity leave, but you know what, I'm going to be back in 1 month. He looked at me quizzically and he said, is this your first kid? And I said, yes. He said, no, believe me, Monica, you will need 3 months and maybe some more time after that. And you should look at flexible work options from IBM. And I said, maybe, but I'll try to be back in a month. And he, being more experienced, came back and, I went through maternity leave. I called him after a month and I said, you know what, I think I will need 2 additional months, right? And he said, that's fine. I finished 3 months and I said, maybe I need to do 2 more months part-time option, right? And he said, why not, right? And I continued in my previous role and I continued to do that job when I was in part-time. I actually got a promotion while I was in maternity leave, which actually tells you that there was no bias in terms of how long you're working, as long as you did your job. The place didn't matter, coming to office didn't matter. So that was pretty good. The second piece was they were always connected with me, trying to call me, be in touch with me to make sure when am I coming back, do they see some confidence shaking, do they think I need reskilling, right? All those checks and balances were being done. I was kind of at a stage where I was feeling there's a little bit too much of pampering going on, right? So when my child was born, I think I went, remember going up to my husband and telling him, you know what, I think I'm going to quit my job. And he stared at me and he said, are you serious? Do you think you're going to sit at home all day, while the kid grows up? And he said, maybe I think you should just go back to work. Maybe you didn't just like the idea of me sitting at home and not being able to do this. And I said, okay, let me think about it. I thought about it and I said, if I really have to work, I have to be mentally free that my child is, well taken care of. And at that point, IBM did not have childcare centers, right? So I remember putting in 2 days of leave, me and my husband going around Bangalore, figuring out childcare centers, only to find that, right half a kilometer down our house, there was a childcare center. I went with my 4-month-old baby, and I went to that lady and I said, I would like to, have daycare. And she said, I'm sorry, we don't take kids less than 1 year. And I was like really begging her and saying, you know what, I don't want to have a maid at home and have this nagging feeling, what is the maid feeding, what's really happening and all that. I really want to be sure in my mind that I'm giving 100% to my work and also the child is taken care of. So after a little bit, I think she showed mercy and she said, why don't you put in a day's leave, come in. I put my child there. After 2 hours, she said, I think you can go to office. The child is pretty independent. It felt a little bad being a mother that the child was able to take care of himself, but I think it helped. After 6 months, I see every time a new parent came in with 3-4 months, my kid was standing up there as a sample saying, this is the kid who came in, and and a whole lot of parents started using that. But I also say, so right from being able to have organizational support and having you back at work, to the fact that you somewhere want that perception and support from your family that you want to go back to work, so how can they support it? And third, I think a huge amount of, I would say, focus goes back to my husband to say, one day he came and said, you can't be a super mom, you can't do everything. So why don't you leverage the, the India model of outsourcing? So I outsourced cooking, outsourced driving. Who wants to drive on Bangalore roads anyways, right? Outsourced a bunch of it. But what you can't outsource is parenthood, you can't outsource motherhood. And you constantly had that guilty feeling that, I'm in office, my kid is somewhere. By the way, you want to get over that guilt. Don't even try to get over it, but learn to work through it. You can work through it by providing quality time rather than quantity time. I think those are a couple of things I would say from an organizational support. Figure out what organization supports you with. Have the will and confidence to say, do you want to come back or do you want to take a clean break, right? Just like Neha said. And I think it's perfectly fine to take a clean break, but don't be in two minds. And if at all you want to come back, have a plan that you want to come back. Have a plan that you want to build your confidence and your skills, right? That's just the story I wanted to share.
Thank you. Neha, my last question to you. You took a break and you've come back. Your reflections and your tip for working women.
Okay, sure. Very different. So I think our journeys went together up till you said that after 1 month after the baby was born, you said you didn't want to go back to work, and your husband managed to change your mind and you got back, right? Same thing happened. I mean, I actually never ever thought I'll take a break. Work is just something that you do. It's just part of your identity. And, studied hard, worked hard, had a child, and then you jump back. And then motherhood changes something. And again, also it doesn't help that I'm from a community where mothers don't really work. They take care of their kids, right? My mom is a stay-at-home mom. My mother-in-law is a stay-at-home mom. All my cousins are stay-at-home moms, my friends are stay-at-home moms, all of that. And when my baby was born, I suddenly felt that, oh my God, anybody can be the CEO of the company I was working at, but only one person can be the mother of this child. And all those sort of ideas and thoughts came into my head, and I said, I'm going to take a sabbatical for 1 year. That's all that I had actually given myself. But by the end of 1 year, it got worse. By the end of 1 year, I was a raging full-time mom who felt that, nobody else can take care of my child better than I can, and blah, blah, I have to be there and do this and do that. And I'm just not going to get back to work. Luckily for me, my perspective changed again when my second one was born, 3 years later. And my attention was forcibly shifted from my first one to my second one, and I realized that he was fine. My first, the heavens didn't fall down, and my first one was fine. Others could also take care of him. It was actually better for him than to have an over-obsessive helicopter mom on his head. And his relationship with his father, with the rest of the family, grew. And second time around, motherhood is also a piece of cake, right? When a baby cries, you realize it's not such a big deal. And by then, I had been out of the workforce for 3.5 years. It's not a short period of time. And a lot of frustration had seeped in. Motherhood is extremely physically and emotionally satisfying. It's not intellectually stimulating at all. Also, it was very, very difficult to answer the question, what do you do, when I used to meet someone. And I felt like a big part of my self-identity was lost, right? You become somebody's wife, somebody's mother, somebody's daughter. Who are you? Because work really does complete you and define you. So that's the stage, finally, after 3.5 years, that I decided that in order to be a better mother, a better wife, and a more fulfilled person, I needed to jump back into work. And that moment usually comes at some point in a woman's stage of, being a mother and being there at home. And that's the time when we need to make her feel that she can get back, right? Because frankly, there are lots of challenges that come about when you're trying to get back, and the biggest one is that you lose your confidence. I mean, especially if you've taken a clean break, you feel that one, do I even remember what I studied and I worked on? And two, will I really be able to manage work along with being there for my kids? And three, will I be accepted open-heartedly in a company?
Thanks for that. We'll now open the floor for questions. We have 20 minutes and we can take questions.
Hi there, I'm Debbie from CW Solution. I wanted to put a little personal perspective on this because we were talking about how it's the responsibility of the woman as well, and I think a lot of concentration has been on what should the organisation do? What should the policies be? What should the processes be? And from my own personal experience, I can say the last 1 year, through social media, through going on the internet, through learning myself, I've only just realised that issues such as negotiation, assertiveness, issues that really do affect women are not just my issues, they're actually all of women's issues. And I thought it was just me that couldn't negotiate for something, that couldn't ask for something, that couldn't influence something because I was a woman. And that was just my deal. But actually, the research shows most women find those things are an issue. And so maybe there's a role for the organisation to be educating women as well on those things, by whatever means it is, whether they come in as freshers and it's giving them that ambition. Yesterday we spoke about ambition a lot, and that's something that women tend not to have. They're just thinking it's about, I'm going to be in the workplace 5 years, and I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, and that's going to be it. So give them the ambition. You know, we saw Cheryl at the beginning, Sheryl Sandberg. You know, you can now see her, you can go on social media, be a part of her lean-in circles, get your role models, those sorts of things. So show women how they can build themselves and get the wherewithal to be able to deal on an equal basis with men in that way.
Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sarvani Mitra from TCS. I just thought I'll...
Just be louder, please. Can you be louder, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yes.
I'm Sarvani Mitra from TCS. I actually lead a delivery team for a US-based customer. I just thought of sharing my experience covering most of the points that has been discussed today and yesterday. So I have also undergone the same cycle of maternity, and I also took a sabbatical for 1 year. So when I took my maternity leave, like for the 6 months, and I came back to work, so as like any other woman, my first thing was I cannot do, you know, leadership kind of roles. I have to take on either a quality or a PMO kind of role that gives me that 9 to 6 kind of job, and I can go back to my kid and all that. But then the moment I have landed back my maternity leave, so I was asked to take up delivery manager kind of role. So my first answer was no, that you know what, I don't think I can do this. But then I got real good support from my male managers. They pushed me hard. They said, no, just try it on. You can do it. And of course, I had an understanding husband who supported me completely. That said, we'll divide the household chores between both of us. Don't worry. You go ahead. So after that, I was able to manage. And then after 2 years, my husband got a good opportunity in South Africa, so he had to travel. And then I decided to take a sabbatical break for 1 year because my kid was still small. He needed somebody. So I went on for that, and after returning from my sabbatical break, my husband continued in South Africa. So here again, when I came back to the same account, I was then asked to lead a delivery team of around 600 people. So that was a big change. And then I was like, oh my God, I have just returned from my sabbatical. How can you even give me this role? I don't think I can do this. And I've still not figured out my ecosystem at home and all that. My husband is away, and me and my kid are all alone in Bangalore. So what my manager said at that time is, why don't you try it for 3 months? In 3 months, if you're not able to do, we'll figure out a replacement. So I was given that time, 3 months. So in that 3 months, what I did, I actually figured out everything in that 3 months. I spoke to my family. My parents very eagerly, they said, you know what, we'll support you, we'll come for some time, stay with you. And then I figured out my own team. So I had that choice, right? So the way I chose is, like, I picked up actually all male. Okay. And I had only 2 women leads at that time, direct reports to me. So why I did that, I still get questions around that why you have all male people reporting to you. The answer that I give is because I have constraints. I have travel constraints. I cannot move out of Bangalore for whatever be the reason. So if I cannot move out of Bangalore, and since I'm handling customer, I'm handling delivery, so if there is a customer visit happening in Hyderabad or Kochi or Gurgaon, then these are the male leads that report to me can actually help me out. to do that for me. So I delegate to them and they do it. And whatever happens in Bangalore, I take care of it. I mean, that is how I've been managing successfully, I would say, for the last 3.5 years. And one more interesting aspect that I wanted to share was when I was trying to figure out this ecosystem at home. So that means I needed a caretaker who can stay at home because this is US-based customer. So I had calls and everything, meetings till like 9 p.m. my time. So then somebody has to stay at home till 9 p.m. to, take care of my kid. So I started searching and all that. And then I had employed a cook. That cook actually came up to me asking that, Didi, I think I can do this. Anyway, I'm in need of extra money because I have to support my own kids. So why can't I take this job? So again, my first reaction to her was like how we discussed yesterday, that assumption, right? So I somehow assumed that she already has 2 kids. How can she come and stay late till 9 p.m. at my house to take care of my kid? So I said, no, you can't do it. You have 2 kids, so you do the cooking only for 1 hour in the morning and you go back. I don't want you to stay. She said, no, Didi, I can still do it. Give me the chance because I am in need of that extra money. And she said she has her parents to take care of her kids. So no issues. So my maid, actually I employed her, and she's also been with me for the last 3 years, managing my kid till 9 p.m. while I go to work. And like I'm least bothered about what happens till that time. By 9 p.m. I'm back at home and then it starts. So I just wanted to share this. And one more thing I wanted to add, my D&I lead for my account is actually a male who takes care, who actually represents TCS also in some of these forums. And this is probably the first time I have been attending such a forum. Just I thought I'll explain. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just reminds me of, since Debbie also mentions Sheryl Sandberg, the concept of leaning in. So it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes I think women are more difficult on ourselves. And in our desire to be perfectionists, we want to do all the roles well, 100%. And don't really seek for help. So it's okay to seek for help. It's okay not to score 10 on 10. I think we all need to tell ourselves that. It's okay to do a good job, not a great job sometimes, when you have so many variables to manage. And that seems to be an excellent, example of how she has managed her ecosystem, how she has sought help and support from the others.
My question is to... Sure. Okay. My question is to Adil. Now, we were talking about distributed workforce. Now, not just gender, but other diversities are also there. And when it comes to the case of distributed workforce, I'm sure there is a lot of diversity. Now, of course, as we all are speaking, diversity brings in a lot to the table. But with distributed workforce, how do we achieve that benefits of diversity? Is there any example or anything that you can share?
I think I'll quote one of my mentors, and he always tells me, Adil, the journey is the reward. There is no reward at the end of the day. But the journey that you go through, that itself is the reward. The point is, when you're bringing distributed workforces into play, you craft personas and say, these are the kind of people I want. You don't say, I want an African American to work for me. You don't say, I want a female leader. You don't say, I want a gray-haired gentleman as a CEO. So who's the best guy for the job? So if he's a 21-year-old, so be it. Because today, distributed workforces pride themselves on delivering exceptional performances and results because they enjoy that journey. I'll give you an example. WhatsApp, all of us familiar with it, right? Anybody, why didn't the audience participate here? How many people do you think are a part of the WhatsApp team? I'll give you context. LinkedIn, 8,000 people. Facebook, close to 6,000 people. People who made WhatsApp. What do you think is the size of the team? Even today, till today. Bang on, it's 55 people. And that is what distributed workforce can do. I mean, 55 people build an application that billions of people in the world use today. They just crossed a billion mark now. And that really is an example. So I don't want to be giving you gyan or theories, but these are initiatives that really bring diversity out. Another great example is WordPress, if you look at it. Literally millions of dollars of revenue, a profitable company, and all having done through finding people across the world to come on a single platform, work through virtual offices. They don't have a single office.
Thanks for that, Adil. We had a question there.
Hi, I'm Rachna, and I wanted to just share one perspective. It got, reignited when Monica talked about her child in the creche and almost became a role model. So probably I am one of the people in the group whose children are the age of the participants here. And one of the things that I experienced was, obviously we all go through the guilt when our children are small and the big piece of maternity lands into our lives. But I noticed a difference in the way you communicate to the children about the pride of your job, which makes a difference. And, so in my experience, when there were women who could communicate the pride of the job, they were able to deal with that whole concept of bringing up the children with the pride they have with their job much better, versus moms who were working and wanted a career but felt so guilty that they could not communicate the pride of their own job. So I remember at one point of time, my daughter who was going to the creche almost thought that the other kids who didn't go to the creche missed out on something. And I just thought I'll make that point.
Thank you.